This video I'm going to be philosophizing on self-reflection concerning distinct subjectivo-objectivo relationships. Practicing with a pen, writing, and communicating within one's self-communications written within a journal. Be it you have clicked on this video for the sake of learning some ability to define within the quick hand communications for your own meaningless, selfish desire to impress, and I'm speaking mostly to the defectors within boys and or men whom tend to more likely feint the appropriate self-knowledge and or self-intelligence to sleep with beautiful, elegantly curvaceous and or the appropriate fit and or desirable, in some cases even slightly chubby, mostly curvaceous girls and or women, providing what is truly deficiencies in one's own self-knowledge and or self-awareness. You should not watch this video, as you will not find this meaningful. In the endeavor, you do not desire to conduct the recommended journaling as the definition I provide in terms of self-reflection derives from my unique experiences engaging self-reflection, originating in journaling practices I have conducted for over a decade, since even childhood, perhaps 2 decades, writing and or reflecting, often starting in school and then also conducting various note-taking and eventually formalizing notes within journals, engaging self-reflection since I was perhaps 11 or 12. And I'm about 29 now, meaning that I've engaged in the written and recorded self-reflection practice for nearly 2 decades. Yet, from my first-hand experience, I do not know any way of communicating appropriately within the weight, judging the conducts conducted with a pen to a page, other than having conducted those conducts with a pen to a page distinctly from within some walking outside, engaging self-reflection from derived residuals written and recorded from the derivatives and or residual communications self-communicated within the journaling, engaged more meaningful self-reflections having journaled. Individuals whom I have communicated with whom do not journal and yet think they have engaged the appropriate self-reflection tend to often engage in certain misconducts and or be deceived, as they tend to lack self-knowledge and or self-awareness to even the communications communicating with them, often less articulate than other individuals, and or convince themselves they hold certain self-knowledge and or self-awareness they conduct not, meaning that the conducts one conducts carefully written and recorded, engages distinct self-processes within one's being, connecting original pathways within mind-body connections as one's conducting the originality to emerge within one's being, as one connects the unique voices intrinsic to one's persona, engaging the self-reflections, inferring certain causações dentro explorações within o registro diário, meaning that as one writes, should engage more meaningful communications in order to have meaningful influence into future-oriented conducts, cultivating the appropriate self-reflections from certain meaningful causations, proactive to the future-oriented self-communications within intermissions, meaning that it's not journaling once and wasting your money on a beautiful journal to think one is engaging in that elegant leather-bound cover with blank canvases to write meaningless analytic terms one may never write within that journal again, nor hold the meaningful concern to even recall the meaningful communications, less likely for one to recall writing less within the journal. As even writing less in the journal, you often are the individual whom is constantly flipping through the pages, and be it even that you're not necessarily consciously processing each unique entry, you tend to form memories from associative experiences related to the creative journaling, engaging reflective communications within the journal, connecting the pathways domain specific to self-reflective journaling, meaning as you engage certain conducts related to self-reflection within journaling, you're more likely to engage within future-oriented, meaningful, similar conducts, the meaningful, similar writings with the directly and or indirectly associative analytic meaning interpretations to allowance the optimizing of intracategorical and or intercategorical effectivenesses and or efficiencies, strengthening your calibrated, meaningful persona to yourself, as the persona is the extensor muscles exercising your being in relation to yourself, and or allowances the exercising of certain personality characteristics to from conducts be exercised into meaningfully similar to how one engaging in exercise may lose fat and increase muscle mass, to never have before had the architecture of certain muscle infrastructuring, to instead engage the infrastructuring of the mind's muscles, constituting the functional autonomy of the self, whom is strengthening distinct mental organs of one's being, connected to the centralities of meaning, strengthening central and or peripheral strengths within one's direct perception, more likely to elicit certain positivities from the optimisms one writes within the self-discovery process engaging in journaling. And journaling prerequisites some prior existing knowledge of the written and recorded analytic terms one may articulate, cultivating the skills to meaningfully articulate oneself, to communicate clearly within crystal clarity, cultivated within meaningful utterances of thought, what one means within valued communications drawn from certain existing priors to allowance from the priori introspections, judging what's appropriate to put on the page, what one most meaningfully desires to communicate within the self-reflection journal entry, allowancing for posterior byproducts and or residuals and or byproducts or derivatives from the written and recorded meaningful communications to allowance future-oriented probabilistic improvements, conducting the self-improvements within the cultivated practice of self-reflection within journaling, engaging more complex mind-body connections as one's formalizing certain pathways one does not conduct compared to simply thinking about one's self-reflections. Yet, engaging meaningful similarities from having journaled connects the infrastructuring one engages within having done the meaningful work to engage the personal, more difficult explorations into the emotional labor, exploring one's introspections to identify the misconducts and or miscommunications within one's thought processes, to steel press the weakness within one's being, to strengthen into stronger willed communications, the articulated self-reflections one may within posteriori communications cultivate the beautiful, elegant, articulate, unique originality one values within the originality of one's complex, meaningful utterances of thought, to communicate unique, never priori communicated, unique phraseologies within the uniqueness of one's being, engaging more meaningfulness processes in the endeavor one on a walk reflects on what one had written in one's journal and or the meaningful similarities within journal writing. In some cases, non-conscious to some years ago written and recorded communications to happen upon the thoughts streaming within one's conscious streams of thought, elaborating the meaningfulness cultivated from the intermissions of journal writing and engaging self-reflections from a more complex combinatory exploration into the distinct areas one may roam to engage self-reflection, be it you walk around with a backpack with your journals in it to locate certain localities worth the while to wait patiently for the savorings of flavorings within the meaningful experiential encounters with the self, writing within one's journal the momentary meaningful self-reflections to cultivate the illuminations of one's being. Most illuminação pensadores have cultivated engaging in some of the most meaningful works contributing to humano direitos e liberdade, to advance what's meaningful in terms of human rights and or freedoms from uniquely what one has engaged self-reflections having journaled. That's all I want to say for this video. Hope you have an awesome and keeping those episodes.